you die.
All right, so we just listened to Tallah's new album, The Generation of Danger. Now we're going to talk about it a little bit. I'll give you some song highlights and just some general thoughts about the album itself. And then we'll go into a deeper discussion with my co-host over here, Jordan, and give you our ratings and such. So, okay. Well, this was definitely an album. This was definitely a concept album. There is a lot here, of course, mostly because of the length. You know, it is a very long album. It is, I'd say overall, in general, you know, I did really like this. There's so many cool things in here, especially, you know, and I will give them also props for having the little companion video that explains a little bit of the story of the album and the backstory of the characters and such to make a little bit more sense. I do, however, want to also take a negative, you know, point away, because in the companion video, you know, Justin does talk about how, you know, they really want you to dive in and, you know, get the story out of it, and he, you know, mentions the lyrics and such. However, the lyrics are not very readily available. As I said, I don't think I blame the band or anything for that. It could just be the way the label did everything. Because I could not find a video that had all of the lyrics on YouTube. I went on Spotify and I was like, oh, cool. There's some lyrics on here, but unfortunately it's only for the first 4 songs and the last song on the album. So there's a giant chunk of the album on here that did not have the lyrics. I think Jordan over there said they found them on Genius, which is, you know, a little irritating. It's out of the way, you know, especially with a concept album like this, something so big, and I just wish it was like presented with the album. It's kind of a misstep. Again, not you know, any shade to the band. I'm sure it's not their fault, but you know, with the concept album, I gotta have some lyrics. You know, I want that story, and especially when I had like 4 songs of it, and then I was like, okay, no more lyrics, I guess. But anyways, they put so much work into this for sure. I do think it is a little overly long, but that's just me, and with a lot of different albums, especially with this just style of, you know, abrasive music, after so long, it just, you know, it's like, it's a lot, when you don't have a lot of, I would say, progressive elements or any like kind of breaks. There's not a lot of breaks in here, to kind of give you room to breathe. There's just, you know, this music is very crazy and all over the place, which isn't a bad thing or anything. Just saying, with that and the length, they kind of clash with each other at times. So let me give you some highlights on some songs. Stomping Grounds had some cool stuff in there. There's this moment where he talks the lyrics. Thank God I had lyrics. Where he said something about you don't know left from right, and when he says that, they pan the vocals left and right. Just, you know, a nice little touch in there. And then there's also this like little style break, not a breakdown, because there is a breakdown at the end of the song, which is really sick. But there's like this almost breakdown where you know, it's got that fast beat, and then it like tempo changes as it goes along, and it gets slower and slower, and then it picks back up slower, and it's just like you know, a really cool, interesting songwriting in there. Shaken Not Stirred was one that had, I believe it had the other one of the guitarists or something doing some clean vocals, and Justin doing clean vocals, and so they had this nice little dual thing in there that I really appreciated. I really like that kind of stuff as well. Of Nothing had was a really creepy song. There's like this like creepy whispered intro, and then he also does these really cool vocals that which, you know, he does some really cool vocals a lot, but he does these like monster style vocals, like he really sounds like a monster, and I thought that was really interesting. Winded, I think, Windred, sorry, I did not type that out right. Windred almost has some emotional moments on there. He does like some softer singing, just for a little bit. But then it goes into, you know, more of the, you know, signature Tallah sound, and then goes into this weird southern type drawl where he's pushing that shit out. He's really singing all country, and it's really cool. Just really interesting. And then How Long, I will give him points for How Long being the big ending style song of an album. You know, I think your ending track is a really important track, especially if it's a concept album. So I do give them points for having this big feeling. You have this like nice like slow intro with some singing, and then it gets this big like grand, you know, slower style, heavier song, and then goes into a slower outro. So nice little song to end the album on, I think, for sure. So influences here that I felt while listening to this, right off the bat, it's clear Slipknot influence. This sounds a lot like second album, like Iowa, Slipknot, a little bit of Volume 3, a lot of the first album as well. Also some Linkin Park. That could just be how he does his clean singing, very close to like kind of how Chester does that you know, a little bit of Fry in there. But also so a little bit more niche influences that I felt. A little bit of Taproot, if anybody knows who Taproot is. Old band I used to listen to back in high school, and also some old Incubus. I felt like just a little bit of old Incubus, like Science era Incubus. Yeah, I'm weird. I listen to Incubus. But at the same time, so there's a ton of nu metal. This is like basically nu metal at its core. But I think there's just enough like hardcore or metalcore influences in there, or moments, you know, little breakdowns and two steps that, you know, just to kind of give you a nice little satisfaction taste of that, you know, that big build up and how fast of everything is, and then you get the nice little just like kind of angry aggressive parts that I always look for, because that's my kind of thing, you know. So anyways, yeah, so some little pros and cons here. You know, like I said, companion video, you know, really big props to them for actually putting in so much effort into writing this, and giving us a whole bunch of story. I did write lyrics on Spotify as a pro, but we only got half of that, or like a third of that. So wish that was remedied. Maybe they'll get up there someday. Would be cool to come back and really dive into the lyrics some more. And while Windred did almost have like an emotional moment, some a little bit of, I really wish I could have gotten an actual like I want to hear like him like just doing some really nice like singing, like just a real like emotional part in here, which I don't think I really got out of this. I always like that kind of stuff, you know, just like a little bit of counterbalance, and at least just like one moment to like make it really hit, you know. I would have liked a little bit of that. And I also liked that they on some of these songs there was like these little saturation effects at the end of the songs that kind of bled into the next one, where that like gets real like staticky and crunchy and nasty sounding. They do that on actually several of the tracks. I thought that was pretty cool. And also I think this actually reminds me a lot of Darko, with how Darko is like so chaotic and like just all over the place, crazy. But I think Tallah does it a little bit better. It's just like a little bit more focused while still being very chaotic, which is really cool. But like tonally on here, you know, I think the mix was pretty good. At times I wish the drums were a little bit louder. I think it's mostly because the drums are really good. I think the drums are there's so much work in the drums. I think the drums have about as much variation as Justin's vocals. Like, you know, Justin, I don't even have to say anything about him. Like his vocals are wild, crazy, all over the place. He does all different kinds of vocals. There's just so much There's no point in me even saying it. Like he just does like all kinds of crazy shit, and it's really cool. Sorry, I almost knocked my bottle of Tabasco over with my hand movements. And I think the drums like really do well with that. The drums are all over the place too, and the drum tone is great. Snare is great. That new metal tone, I really love that. But the snare I think stood out the most. I wish some of the other parts of the drum kit stood out as much too, but a little nitpick, you know. But guitar work is great. Guitar tone is great. Some nice synth moments. I love the electronics in there. The record scratches and shit too. You know, old school Slipknot feeling for sure. I think overall it worked really well together, and I really did like this. Again, I just with a concept album, I was really interested and invested in the story, but it's not really easily available. I'd have to go kind of out of the way to really dive in and get those lyrics, which I think is a disservice to how much effort that they put into this album for sure, which is common. It's a common thing that I've been noticing this year, like with a bunch of other concept albums. It's something that's just not really thought about. I guess I don't know, by the record labels or something. So it's really a disservice. But overall, I think it was really good, really fun, and I think Justin can be a turnoff for some people with how just like random he is, but I feel like even if you don't like the way he sounds, like I feel like you gotta give him props for just like the talent. Like there's just no question that there's some incredible talent there. So anyways, I've been talking long enough. Jordan, what are your thoughts on this?
I thought it was a really cool album. I'm a fan of concept albums and like sci-fi things like this, so it's definitely hitting some of those marks. I really appreciate the really big focus on the story and kind of world building and kind of really filling out the whole thing around it. I didn't watch the video that he made before talking about the album, but I feel like overall the way that they presented it, I can definitely get a lot of the story, although having the lyrics not be readily available really hurts it, not helps it. And I think that's a real big mark. Just on most concept albums and stuff that we've heard a lot recently, I feel like they definitely try to make some moves to try to make everything more cohesive and have everything be very poignant and very in your face whenever you're doing something as big as like a concept album that's so big and in depth like this is. I really appreciate that. Instrumentally and vocally, it's really, really cool, very experimental. It doesn't fall just into new metal, doesn't fall just into metalcore or just deathcore. It's definitely got a lot of elements of everything with still being Tallah in itself, and I really like that you can really find their core sound, and really know it's them whenever it comes on. So I think my favorite parts of the album were definitely vocally, not just vocally like sound wise, but having the vocals be very focused on like character and making those different characters in the story and in the songs stand out from each other, and kind of really helps drive home the kind of sci-fi monster feeling. And you can definitely feel like a lot of like crazy scientist vibes, especially that one song where he was kind of had that like whispering kind of like,
yeah, that one.
it really felt like some like scientist like just like in a deep dark lab somewhere, just like cutting away and just like making a whole bunch of rubbing his hands together and shit. And I definitely got a lot of that, and I think that was really, really cool, and that's probably my favorite part about the album. And I think sound wise, instrumentally, I really like the drums and a lot of the electronics. I think they were very, very unique, and definitely added like a little just extra touches of chaos and having those little samples and record scratches that are just panned every which way, and uh, having everything have a real purpose and like a place in the story and in the song. And I really think it's really brilliant that they can kind of put everything together and still have it be cohesive. Um, it is a little long, but I felt like at the point where it started getting a little long, it was towards the end already. So I feel like it was just a little too long. But maybe it could have just used a couple breaks, like an interlude or something, added in the middle or somewhere to kind of break it up and really give it room to breathe. There was a little bit of that, more just kind of at the end of the songs and having the transitions. But yeah, overall, I really liked it. Uh, it's definitely something that I could definitely see myself listening to a couple songs here and there. Um, and, you know, if I'm in the mood, putting on the whole album, maybe kind of like a Halloween vibe. I definitely got that a lot. So, yeah, really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, I guess it's down to the wire then. What would you rate this?
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's definitely on the lower side of 9 out of 10 for me. It's just, there's so much music here and there's so much work that they put into building these songs and building the world and kind of like playing around with the characters and having the music still be interesting and innovative and still really cool. And it still had those moments there. It really hits, and they had all those moments and they still kind of brought it together. So yeah, I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So again, like, another concept album that we just reviewed recently was The Gloom in the Corner. Very much like this, very theatrical, had a lot of so much effort put into it. They even had songs that were like straight like dialogue between characters, a lot of like world building and stuff. But again, like I just want like a they did have the companion video, but if they could just somehow make like one video with at minimum with like a lyric video or lyrics in the captions, or full effort making like kind of like a visualizer, with like just like some clip arts, or just like little storyboard type stuff with the lyrics would be, I think it would just elevate this shit like so much higher. When you could feel there's so much work put in, just to really tell that story, I think would really push this so much further. But I still gotta give them props for the work that they did do. There's a lot of cool stuff. Instead of just writing metalcore, new metal, just to write angry music and shit, they do it with a different little twist on it, and I think that's really cool. They definitely do a lot of really cool stuff here with the vocals and the instrumentation and the chaos that's still like focused. So I am kind of stuck between like an 8 and a 9. Like you said, really low 9. Yeah, I'll give him a 9. I'll give him a 9 for sure. I agree with you that it's a low 9. I don't know if I still really would have liked an emotional moment in here to just really like punch.
Yeah.
But
there was a little bit on the last song.
There's
it's kind of like,
there's definitely some, they get close. I think they do get close. There's some nice instrumentation and some softer parts. But I think overall, extremely solid. I just think that there's still that room to just really push it, and just to like make it something big.
Make it a cohesive experience.
Yeah.
So not like a movie. Not really build.
Not exactly a 10 out of 10. but it's damn close. It's a 9, which is a minus in my book. You know, that's still or it's like a. It's like my 8 is an A minus. This is like a plus. So so great job to Tallah. You know, like I said, a lot of effort in here for sure. Would like to see them do more of this. Hopefully they don't just, you know, I know their last album was concept as well, so I hope they keep that up. Honestly, for sure. So good job to Tallah.